Look at that. New
What's up?
technology. We'll figure out how this works. What's up?
Did you tell people we were doing this?
Tell them where.
Anywhere?
Did you? I didn't.
Yeah, I told them
Who?
on Threads.
Okay.
I really
As
like Threads.
as
I've
as
been
as I've been told, X is a dying platform, and most of our fans say they don't really use X, so I did not go to X.
I don't I don't know if I've said this before, but I deleted X.
You did.
I deleted the what you call it the my account. I mean, I
Hmm.
stopped using it before I left news. I was on my phone too much and not
That's
plugged
funny
in.
that you say that. So you don't consider your job that you have now as news?
No, I definitely don't.
Okay.
I mean, we do news.
Are you TV production? What are you?
Yeah, I'm TV. It's more production work that I do
Okay.
now.
Fair
I
enough.
don't get me wrong. I There are news items that we do. So like last week, no, today's still Saturday. So Thursday, I directed this week in South Carolina the little the I almost said the little news program, but
You did.
I did with Gavin Jackson, uh,
And give yourself more credit, sir. It's not little.
um, Meg Kennard, Mayan Schechter, and Rob Godfrey. So they talked about um, the debate Tuesday and how
Did you get to
people.
talk to Meg in person?
Yeah,
That's cool. I like
we
that.
talk
I like
every now
Meg
and then.
Kennard.
Meg is good people. Cancer survivor. She
Yep.
knocked that out of the park. Um, I was just thinking, no, I ever, but ever, I deleted Twitter this year, and I'm trying to think of what was the point of what I deleted, like my profile, because I deleted off my phone and like logged out, and I couldn't
Hmm.
remember what my username and password was. But something happened where I was just like, yeah, I'm done. Like I don't like I'm not even keeping, and I literally logged in
Hmm.
and deleted the profile and was like, yeah, I'm never coming back. And because they asked you, do you want to keep it and make it dormant? And I was just like, nope, I want to be done with this platform. And
Hmm.
I'd been using Threads a lot. Um, I picture it's the nerdy by nature picture profile, but I've been using a lot, getting in conversations, and which leads us to this conversation. What the fudge is Sony doing?
I mean, we've been going 6 minutes, so you could curse if you needed to, but that's nice.
I'm trying to cut down on it.
You've been saying that since you've had them children, and I don't know that you have.
I have honestly, I really
Oh,
have.
okay.
It. Don't get me wrong. I still curse. it's it's in my DNA. I'm never going to stop. I
Sure.
still do it, but I cut down on it. But no, it was a conversation I had. We were after we talked about Gamescom and Concord, and then we texted each other about the rumor that the PS5 Pro was going to be released that Tuesday. The
Well, the announcement
information,
was coming that
the
Tuesday.
announcement was Tuesday, and but pre-orders went up that Tuesday, and
No, no, no. Are
wait,
pre-orders
pre-orders
up?
go up November 9th.
No, no.
Well,
Your dates are all off.
hold on.
Pre-orders
When
go
did
up
the
sometime in
pre-orders go up?
September. The system goes out November 7th, but pre-orders go up sometime
The
this
number
month.
seven. Okay, I hold on. Let me. I'll get to that part in a minute because I'm confused
Okay.
about what's going on. Because anyway, so it made, and then there was a article. Hold on. So go ahead and fill people in about the.
Okay. So, well, this is the We Trying channel, Nerdy by Nature Productions. That's Leroy and Michael. Hello, new
Mhm.
people. Hello, old people. We're back with the live episode. Today, we're going to talk about all things Sony and the cluster F that is Sony. The goods, the bads, the uglies. I don't know if there are any goods right now. A lot of bads. We always talk about the negatives and not trying to be negative, but sometimes it seems like that's all you can be because of what stuff happens. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. But a couple things. Mark Cerny, super genius that he is,
Mhm.
guy who might be socially awkward. I don't know, but he seems like a guy who knows everything, but maybe doesn't know how to talk to people. Did a 9-minute presentation on the PS5 Pro, and they didn't. I
Well,
don't. Did you watch it?
no, I have not watched. I listened to it as I was driving, but I
Okay,
hadn't watched.
you should really watch it just from somebody who has a director's eye, just to see like, huh, this is how they decided to present it, because the message definitely fell on flat ears, and the presentation itself was just, this is how
Bad.
you're going to try to convince somebody to buy this. This isn't doing it. But we can get into that. But it gave a 9-minute presentation. Like
Mhm.
within the first 20 minutes, they didn't beat around the bush and said, nope, we're talking about PS5 Pro. They listed off what the PS5 can currently do. And then they talked about the PS5 Pro and the big three of the reason why they invented it. They said they were getting calls from developers saying, hey, we need more power in the system. And they came up with this big three architecture system, that three big pillars that are going to make it be better than the PS5. And then at the end, they said it's $699 in the US, maybe 699 euro. I don't know everywhere else, but $700 here.
It's 900.
And
So the if you look at the conversion, it's $900 in Canada, eight
hmm,
something in Europe, and
hmm,
I think eight something in Japan. It's it's more expensive everywhere but here. If you convert the money from American to whatever the cheapest it is here in America. It's 6.99 here.
yeah, that is a PS5 Pro that is all digital, does not have a physical disk drive on it, so you would need to buy that. So that's another $80, and it
Correct.
doesn't come with a vertical stand. You would need to buy that as well.
Another 30, 20 to $30.
So about eight hundred
And
dollars more,
wait,
more or less, for all that stuff if you want
don't
everything.
forget, controllers just went up $5 more this week, depending on what color you buy.
Sure, but I mean, it does at least come with one, so it's not like you have to get
True,
one.
but if you have a game like a Madden or a football game where you want someone to play with you, or if you have children, you got to buy an extra controller. So I mean, that's to me that this is a very big ask of consumers. You texted me and Avery when it dropped,
I did.
and what was your
Let me go
what?
back to the conversation. It wasn't that long ago. Let's see.
Yeah.
We were in Avery. Boom, boom, boom. On Tuesday at 11:26 a.m., I texted you and friend of the show Avery. Y'all buying that PS5 Pro at $700? Avery just said no. You said, did you say $700? Is that with tax? No,
Hmm.
sir. That is before tax. And then you sent a little emoji from
What emoji did I send? I forget.
some animal that Kevin Hart played. I don't know what movie it's from. Where he
Oh,
was a
that
rabbit.
Snowball.
What movie is that?
Secret Life of Pets
Secret Life of Pets.
too.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah.
Cool.
So yeah. So are you buying it?
No. And you know me, we talk about all the time. I buy everything. I buy all the
That.
systems.
Yep.
Um, but
So
I have
what's
not bought the PSVR 2. I did not buy that at $500, and I'm not buying this. Couple reasons. I have more debt than I would like at this time, so I'm trying to do a better job of paying that down.
mhm.
Next year, Wendy and I want to go to Japan, so we have been saving up for that. But I'd like to save even more money for that. So if it's not like super something I need, I definitely don't need it. And the biggest thing is PlayStation did not convince me why I need to get a PS5 Pro. I have I don't even know what TV I have now. A CX, whatever
Mhm.
LG CX model was, so maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Still a good TV. Still, it's great. It does. It has. I have the HDMI 2.1, all that stuff. It does variable refresh rate and everything. So I would be able to get a lot of the advantages of it. But when they showed off like side by side comparisons of games, I'm like, this is marginally better.
Now,
Like
in
it
in
looks marginally better. It may run faster, but it looks marginally better.
in their defense, and I will get, and you can keep going. In their defense, a lot of people said
AK, we
that
are live. Yep.
um, YouTube is hard to judge video, the distinction in high resolution video, because YouTube compresses video. So if you're watching the stream of them explaining this video of a PS Pro versus a PS5 regular edition, it is hard to tell those distinctions. Um, But continue. I just wanted
I,
to put that
I
out there, like,
you're right.
because
Yes,
because
that is known. Go ahead. Sorry.
reason why I want to get that out of the way, because we're going to say some things that is going to come for Sony's neck. However, I do want to give them the benefit of the doubt on some things before
Well,
we
here's the
drop that hammer.
and people who know technology better than us. I don't know what everybody does in our chat, but I know people that are really technical, so they know stuff. But I'm almost going to be how normally you're more of the pessimistic person than I am. I almost don't want to give them the benefit of the doubt because YouTube does compress stuff, but
Mhm.
at the same time, it compresses both the PS5 baseline and the PS5 Pro.
And they
So if
look the
they're
same.
both if they look slightly different. So I mean, if they're both being compressed the same way, I still need to see a big jump in difference to
Yeah.
me. So even if I saw it, and here's the thing, I don't know how you present it. I don't know what the answer is. This wasn't it, and I don't have a solution. I always try to say have solutions and stuff. I don't know what the solution is, but this presentation just did not help them. Digital Foundry has since come out and said stuff was fine. One of the biggest things that came out was everybody kept talking about, oh, the PS5 Pro is probably going to run Grand Theft Auto 6 at 4K 60 FPS. And Digital Foundry's like, probably not. Even with the PS5 Pro, it's probably still not going to be 4K 60 FPS.
Really?
You might
Wow.
get that's yeah, they said you'll probably get the 4K for sure, but or whatever it is, you're not going to get that output on a PS5 Pro because they said even with the things they've added, it's still dealing with like some of the similar architecture for a PS5. So the chances of it doing true 4K at 60 FPS are very slim. At least Digital Foundry thinks so.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what they said so far. I don't know how much time they've had with it since then, and we
mhm.
don't know what sort of optimization Rockstar is doing to make Grand Theft Auto 6. But right now, it's kind of like $700.
So the one thing that I will say, because when I knew this was coming out, after years of hearing rumors about a PS5 Pro, uh, I think it's interesting that the way that they did this, and I think, and the reason why I brought up threads and like how the conversation I had and how this facilitated this is we just talked about Concord at Gamescom and I thought one of the conversations I had, and bear with me, I'm going to get make this all make sense to when we to hear, because you talked about why did Sony do this and what was the messaging is off. One of the conversations I had was somebody brought up the fact that Xbox, we need that if you love video games and you love Sony and you love PlayStation, you need Microsoft. You cannot have one without the other, because if Sony does not have competition, Sony does not do a good job of being a good corporate. I'm looking for the word. They're not a good corporation for the consumer, because if you don't have competition and you don't have somebody forcing you to be better, you're going to
The
do
seven
whatever
hundred
you.
dollar PS5 Pro. Sorry,
And
go ahead.
oh, you said it without me even explaining it.
Yeah,
And I literally got into arguments with people who were like, Microsoft has never challenged Sony. I mean, and just like some just asinine comments that they were just like, somebody was like, Game Pass is the reason why the video game company, the video game industry is going down, and you guys are fools for liking Game Pass. And I was like, you are stupid. And I didn't say that, but I was thinking it as I was reading some of the comments that these people were posting. I was like, you're not an intelligent person. And it also goes to show you how sometimes you can have conversations with people who don't have the context of why Sony needs competition. Because,
question.
go
Did
ahead.
you get into a deep conversation with that person about Game Pass being bad, or they just said that and then they left it alone? Like, did they have
They
reasons why?
I made mistakes in one of the things that I said, because I said if you look at different generations, there were different generations Sony won and different generations, I would say, for what they did for gaming, Xbox One. I believe that Xbox 360 won that generation of console.
I
PS3 might
think
have
a lot of
sold
people would
more.
agree that. Yeah.
Not some of the people I talked to. You,
Oh,
they were
well,
like, oh, they sold
sure.
this many consoles, and And I said, you're right. They did sell more consoles. I said the HDR or the HDD hard drive that Microsoft was pushing versus the Blu-ray that Sony was pushing, Sony won that part of the debate. But as far as who won that console generation, the things that the 360 did versus the PS3 did, Xbox won that generation, and they could not understand. And because one of the things that I'm doing now is like, if I make a mistake, I try to say I made a mistake, or trying to have the dialogue. Yes, you're right about that. And I said, you're right about that. Yeah, that's a fact. And it's like, and then I had this whole other thing on this other comment where they just disappeared when I dropped the articles, notes, and it was like crickets disappeared. Because how can you say Game Pass is making the industry worse when Insomniac does not have a game on Game Pass, is a Sony company, and they literally laid off people. They sold 10 million copies of the game of Spider-Man 2, and that game is $70. Like it doesn't compute. And so the reason why I bring up the fact of Concord and this $700 console is Microsoft is not pushing Sony hard enough.
Yeah.
We always talk about Xbox stepping on rakes. Sony steps on rakes and does not learn from it. It does seem Xbox learns from some of their mistakes, whereas Sony does not. And one of the things I want to bring up, going back to Concord, was
They don't have to learn from their mistakes.
no,
That's
and
the issue.
that's
Like, right, they make mistakes, but because nobody's there to, like, I won't say punch them in the mouth, but somebody's there to capitalize on it. They're like, yeah, we messed up, but nobody's going to challenge us, so we can keep doing it,
they're
which
literally
which
like,
is
fuck
which
it.
is not good for the gamer. Yeah.
And I'm sorry I cursed just now, but Sony's literally like, F it, man. Like, and I thought about this with Concord, and Concord is supposed to be a hero shooter. In order for your shooters or live service game to work, you need people to
Play.
either buy your game or play your game. Why would you have such a walled off game selling at $40 when you know the idea of getting people into your game is more eyeballs on it? So why did they not give that game away for free, or make the game one of the Sony PlayStation games on your PS Plus? Why did they open that door? To me, the messaging, like, you did not have the game on Gamescom floor with people playing it. You Why were you not, for people who bought early access, why were you not giving away skins? There was just so many different things. Because if you think back about some of the other games like Rocket League was a free game back in the day on Sony PlayStation Plus. So I don't understand why Concord, unless you believe that some people are accusing Sony of doing a pump and dump to a certain extent, of making something and then writing it off on taxes. Like, we met this threshold, and kind of pulling it. They call it a Zaslav, where you make this thing, you never really. After a while, you're like, oh, we could make more money off of it by writing off on taxes, than actually releasing it and putting money behind it to make it actually work. And
I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist like that. I don't think that's what happened. I think it was bad, and I don't know which is worse. I think it was just a bad strategy in terms of how they released it, because they did a beta for it maybe a week or two, or I don't know, sometime before the game officially released, and people weren't super jazzed about the beta.
yeah,
So it's kind of like, at that point, instead of just pushing it out there, maybe you need to retool it a little bit before you finally push it out.
but here's what the reason why I say I don't. I'm not saying it. I don't believe that's a conspiracy theory to think that Sony made something and realized at a certain point it is costing more money to keep it going, and we're better off stopping this and writing it off, because you did not promote it. The Think about this: we only heard about this game a year ago, and when they released the trailer for the teaser for this, there was nothing in it.
It was a hamburger, or no, it was a sandwich or something.
It was a hamburger. It was.
That's what it was. Okay.
It was a hamburger, and it just said Concord, and it was on a spaceship. And they did nothing to promote this game, as far as like getting it out there, getting it in people's hands. And I'm not. And this, the difference between this and a Redfall was a broken game. They knew what that game was and they released it anyway. Redfall is still going. You can still play that game. Sony has basically given people their money back. Like, so, like, let's say you got a review copy or you bought the game, right?
Hmm.
They pulled the game. So, like, let's say you got a review copy. The review copy of the game is gone. There are people who had review copies of the game who were like, hey, I'm still going to play it. If you have the physical disc, you cannot play that game. And
Sure.
that's so weird to think about, that you can't play this game and
In
it
such a
hasn't.
short amount of time.
And that's why I said something. I do believe something fishy is going on. I don't know what it is. I'm not. I'm not in that world enough to make an educated guess, but I do believe that something is going on underneath. And I would really like your boy Jason Shriver to be on it. I would really like some real journalists to dig into what is going on, because I can name 4 or 5 games that lasted, that had more problems than this game. Anthem, still, like, Anthem was going for a while.
Yeah.
Um, you look at, uh,
There are a lot of free to play games that came out that have since shuttered, like was it Knockout Kings?
yep, Knockout Kings is
Yeah.
one of them.
And that people like Knockout Kings, but that lasted at least a couple months before it finally went. Because I think you had to buy it at one point, then they made it free to play, and
Hmm.
then it went away.
And then, so I, the reason why I bring that up in conjunction with this is because I don't know how long it takes for you to continue. Because here's another thing: Sony didn't buy Firewalk until what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was relatively recent.
They claim that Firewalk has been in development for 8 years.
Concord has been in development for 8 years.
Yeah, sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
Firewalk has been working on Concord for 8 years. Firewalk wasn't. Firewalk hasn't been a company for 8 years.
Right.
So the math ain't mathin'. And here's another thing that I'm I'm comparing this only to give you an idea of what this is up against. You had to have gotten people to test this game, to sit down and give you feedback on, like, what they think about this game. Where is the focus groups on this game? Who is this game for? And that's the thing. You have no known IP introducing this game. You are you launched this 8 years ago. Do you know another game that's been in development almost a decade that's about to come out?
What?
You just talked about it.
Oh, Grand Theft.
So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying Concord should be as good or should drop as big as a Grand Theft Auto 6. I personally believe that Grand Theft Auto 6 was not coming out on this generation of console.
You did say
And
that.
if I want to be that guy, I'm still correct, because it ain't out yet. And
That's
two,
right.
it ain't out yet. And it looks like the best way to play that is going to be on a PS5 Pro. Which,
Well, yeah. Honestly, it looks. Yeah.
even then, it still won't be the best console to play it on, or the best way to play it, because it's not dropping on PC at least for another year after that, because they
Yeah.
said that this will not launch on PC anytime soon.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say, Sony continues to just not give a flying about its consumers, to make these decisions and just think people are going to stick with them. And that really does leave a bad taste in my mouth, because I love Sony as a company. I love the company Sony. Sony has made two of the best comic book movies of all time. I will go to my grave saying that.
Oh God, are you about to say something stupid like Venom?
No. Into the
Oh,
Spider
okay.
Verse and Across the Spider Verse are two of the
Oh,
best comic book
okay.
movies ever
I
made.
thought you were gonna
And
be
that
like
came,
Venom's fantastic.
the first one was good.
All right.
The first one is good. But what I'm saying is, and this, I'm going to segue into the next topic, for that, but that's in this. So Sony, the company, it
Oh, wait.
sells.
Before you do that, are
Uh-huh.
you still talking about Concord? Because I want to add something to Concord before you
Yeah,
move
go
on.
go go ahead.
Okay. So a thing that I've seen, you're talking about playtesting. I think the
Hmm.
issue is, and this isn't my thought. I've seen a bunch of people say it, and it makes sense. Concord seems, by all accounts, seems to be a good game.
Yes, a
Like
solid
by
seven.
a
Hmm.
solid 7, which by
Out of
most
10. Yeah.
reviews is good, which
Hmm.
is okay, which is good. But the issue with most people saying is at this point you can't just be good anymore. You have to be great, and that's very interesting to think of. Like before you could just be like, oh, a good game will sell, but now there are so many good games. I argue, I feel confident in this, and I have nothing to back it up, but I feel like there are more good games put out than bad games. I think at this point in time, on the average, there are more good games put out than bad games. But
Yes.
because there are so many good games, you have to be great or phenomenal to stand out.
And let me piggyback off of that. You have to be great because you have to overcome whatever narrative surrounds your game that either good or bad will come out because of social media. Perfect example is Concord. Concord is a solid game. Yes, the gameplay, you can quibble about the gameplay, but it's not broken, it's not buggy. It actually works. Now, why did Concord not develop an audience? One, people are tired of live service games. They just are. Two, that's not an IP that is recognizable or from a studio that is one of the quote unquote top tier studios. It's not
Did
a,
you ever see a Concord commercial anywhere?
yes,
You did. Okay. I feel like I've seen them on like game sites like IGN or
yes,
something. I don't feel like I've seen
yes.
one on TV.
No, no,
I don't
and
know.
now keep in mind, I don't watch TV.
Okay.
I watch it every now and then. As far as like I've started watching football, and we watch WNBA, but that's just recently, and I have not seen a video game commercial. And we watch a lot of HDTV and Bluey and stuff like that, and very rarely will we see those type of commercials. So the reason why I say you have to be good, you have to be better than good, you have to be great, is because the narrative that will follow a game. Because a lot of the live service games has a community based around it. And your community is what's going to help sell that game because there are content creators making content based on your game. Phase Clan. Think about the different groups who are, their job is to make content. And their job is to make content playing your multiplayer live service game, your Call of Duty, your Battlefield, your Overwatch, your PUBG, your Apex Legends. In order to make it into that pantheon of games, you have to have a great game or a game that people want to play. And the narrative around your game has to overcome whatever negativity that's going to develop around your game. And Concord did not do that. And Sony did it no favors by not getting into the people's hands who do this sort of thing. And that's one of the biggest problems that I think Sony just made a game. And it's like, well, who did you make this game for? Is it for the people who like Guardians of the Galaxy because of that dynamic? We literally have a fucking Guardians of the Galaxy game nobody played. That is an awesome game.
Yeah, the game was very good.
That was an awesome game that no one played. And when I
Yeah.
mean no one, not enough people played it to make it profitable that we could get a sequel to it. You want to
Yeah.
know another great game that no one played? That's another Midnight Suns from, was it Firaxis? Is it
Firaxis. That
Firaxis who does
sounds right.
that
Yeah.
do
Yeah. Civilization and all that stuff.
no,
Yeah.
Kill All Humans?
What?
Who
Kill all
does Kill
humans.
All Humans?
What is it? What is kill all humans?
That's the game that they make. Hold on.
I don't even know what that is. You talking about destroy all humans?
Yeah, that's who made. Yes, it was Firaxis. It was Firaxis. I'm trying. Yeah,
Yeah, Firaxis. Okay.
but they also made the Kill All Humans things.
I don't. You
Anyway,
keep
sorry.
saying this kill all humans things. They're freaking me out because I don't know that game you're talking about.
I'll show you. I'll look it up. Anyway,
Okay.
sorry, I got distracted. So I say that to talk about Concord. That's another rake. Supposedly, we would kill Xbox if they did this. If Xbox did this, we would be the entire world would be just coming down on them as if they killed a child. Like that's Sony seems to me get away with a lot of stuff that if other video game companies had done, they
Now,
would be crucified for.
define getaway because I mean I feel like people are coming pretty hard for Sony about Concord, and the
True.
$700 PS5. The issue
They
is like they're coming for you, but you're still gonna buy them.
I Here's the thing. I think that they are knocking the game Destroy All Humans was of Black Forest and published by TH. Thank you. Thank you, Jay. Okay. Um, what I mean coming for them, I think a lot of the criticisms I've seen around Concord is about the live service aspect and not around Sony once again dropping the ball this generation and this year, considering the rakes that Microsoft and Xbox have stepped on. Because if this was the year for you to just basically, if you're Xbox, to capitalize on the lack of games that Sony has made and the mistakes Sony has made, this is your year. Because Sony has said we're going to kill it in 2025.
Yeah,
Microsoft and
because we're not
Xbox,
killing it in
we're
2024.
not killing it, and Xbox is literally like sitting over there eating paste, and Sony's walking around with no shoes on outside, tracking in mud in the house, and you're like,
Hey, I'll give one prop to Sony. Apparently, Astrobot is great, and I want to play Astrobot.
but you
I've
were
liked
one
the
of the
Astrobot
people.
games in the past, so
You've
I do
always
want to
loved
play this
Astrobot
Astrobot.
because you
Yeah,
liked Astrobot when it was released with PS5.
yeah,
Um, the reason why I say I think Sony is getting away with this is because, and I don't see the vitriol aimed at Sony that we see for Xbox. And the reason why I said it is because of that conversation I told you about, that Xbox has to be good in order to make Sony better and vice versa. Um,
you need that competition.
you do. And I say this because think about Chevy and Ford when it comes to pickup trucks. The Chevy Silverado and the Ford F-150. They're always in competition to sell you trucks. There's always a narrative around, are you a Chevy man or a Ford man or Ford person? I don't want to gender or whatever, but there's always the reason why Chevy is good is because Ford exists. And then you also have other companies coming in like a Toyota with their Tundra. You have Ram and
You got the Dodge
GMC.
Ram, yeah.
So you have people making these trucks better because I don't just have to buy your truck. If you're buying a video game console, you've got three choices,
Hmm.
and one of them ain't even playing the same game.
Yeah,
So, and then you drop this thing. And here's another thing that I think reason why I brought up that part of it. We're talking about. I think that Sony does dumb things, and they continue to do dumb things and say dumb stuff. That so, I hit you with this. Um, Sony had somebody at Sony, the Sony Group CFO, Hiroki Totoki.
do you have that article to drop in here?
Yes, matter of fact, I'm going to copy and paste it right now. Um, and I probably butchered this man's name. Um,
When I see him in Japan next year, I'll let him know.
thank you. Uh, Hiroki Totoki. I, I'm just going to say it,
Keep
the
going,
Sony
keep it
Group
moving.
CFO remarked that whether it's for games, films, or anime, the company doesn't have enough IP that it fostered from the beginning. He also mentioned that this was supposed deficiency in the early phase of IP is a problem for Sony, which CEO Kenshiro Yoshida added to later in the interview by asserting that the company plans to get around this problem by prioritizing the creation of new IP going forward. Todaki did admit that Sony's popular existing franchises have done well to reach new audiences, likely thanks to PlayStation's PC publishing venture. They would have never done that without Xbox. Sony would have never put their games on PC without Xbox, who was in the console and one hand or one foot in the um,
I think that's fair.
PC
Yeah.
gaming, would never have put their games on PC. If it hadn't been for Steam and it had been the Xbox, they would have never done that. So I want to say that one, Game Pass helped force them to do that. So I want to say that, but also I'm calling bullshit. So put in the little meme with the little boy in the stroller when he's like bullshit, bullshit. I'm calling bullshit because Sony has a ton of IP. They just have not done a good job of cultivating and reclaiming their IP. Like old girl said, reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time. You have a plethora of IP. You've
Going
just
back
not
to
done
Astro
your job.
Boy, there's a bunch of hidden PlayStation memorabilia and IP and characters in PlayStation's history in the newest Astrobot game. So I mean, yeah,
Yes. So you can read the article for yourselves. I just wanted to bring that part up. They talked about uh, PlayStation has released a lot of popular IP in the last decade. Here's what they said in the just in the last decade: Astrobot, Bloodborne, Days Gone, Death Stranding, Detroit Become Human, Ghost of Tsushima, Helldivers, Horizon, Returnal, The Last Guardian, The Last of Us, Until Dawn. However, the CFO believes that creating new IP from the ground up is necessary for both Sony and PlayStation to grow. These statements have understandably bewildered Sony PlayStation fans online, even more so with the recently released PS5 first-party exclusive Astrobot, featuring 150 PlayStation character cameos. In all fairness, and I did that to you because you just brought that up. Comments are also targeted at Sony's film and anime ventures, so their weightage may not be as high towards PlayStation as some presume. Um, I'm calling bullshit because they have the IP. I wrote down a list of the IP right here, and I'll go through it. Things that Sony owns that they have not done anything with in the last 10 years. Some a little older. My favorite, number one on my list, Killzone. Haven't done anything with Killzone since 2013. Shadowfall, which was a release title with the PS4. Resistance Fall of Man. Last game, number 3, was released in 2011. SOCOM, first one was released in 2002. The last one was released in 2011 on the PS3. Now, here's one that was released in conjunction with, and I don't know where the rights on this stand because this was Kojima's game, Zone of Vendors. They had a 1 and a 2 released with Konami. Where's that at?
sure.
We just talked about Bloodborne on that list. Bouncer from Square Enix. Twisted Metal. You have a TV show about it. When's the last Twisted Metal game you've seen?
They keep talking about a Twisted Metal game and being in development. So yeah,
Mark of Cree. Remember that one on
yeah.
PS3? I enjoyed that game. Siphon Filter, anyone? Siphon Filter?
Well, isn't that the
Pagey
team that
Siphon Filter?
isn't that the team that was doing your game that you like now?
Which one?
I thought that was Sony Bend. Is that not Sony Bend?
It might be. Oh, you mean Ben Studios? They
Yeah,
might be working on it, but again,
but it's not
where's that?
out.
It's
Right.
not out. Remember Genji 1 and
Yeah.
2, Warhawk, the plane shoot 'em up, whatever, and then its sequel, Starhawk. Remember that one? It kind of looks like a Apache helicopter, but it didn't have the blades. And then
Hmm.
the sequel was a third person shooter. And here are 3 big ones that we just talked about. One of them, the Days Gone from Ben Studios, Crash Bandicoot, and Little Big Planet. That's a cursory internet search and the games that I own. And you're
Well,
going to tell me
we had
you
a
don't
Crash
have
Bandicoot.
IP? Huh?
We had a Crash Bandicoot recently.
That's that's not what people wanted. That last Crash Bandicoot that came out.
It's rough.
No, you know good and well that was a good. I'm not gonna say it's not a good game, but as a Crash Bandicoot platformer game, that was not what people wanted. Am I wrong in saying that?
I didn't play it. I don't know.
From what I saw, that was not the Crash Bandicoot that the world was asking for, and that could just be my opinion. But what I'm saying is anything on this list that you're like, that's no, this is all Sony owned IP or game made in conjunction with another company that makes video games that you could make this game again, or you could take this game and turn it into a property. Would you not watch a Days Gone show if done appropriately? Would you not watch? Now, I'm not saying turn Killzone into a TV show because that could be expensive, but
This is a
I could.
side tangent. Weren't they making a Call of Duty movie? Whatever happened with that?
They're still trying to make that, but
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, I just finished watching the second or third episode of Terminator anime.
Hmm.
Invincible is a TV show. The Boys are a TV show. You own Michael Oving and Brian Michael Bendis's the you watched it, the show Powers that was
Hmm.
on PlayStation Plus, that you own the rights to that. Like, this idea that Sony does not have IP, to me, is a slap in the face of people who've been playing video games who can literally use Google to find out that you're full of shit.
Kay brought up the fact of AI being used more and more within Sony Pictures and also the Sony game division. So it seems like they're trying to find more and more ways to get away from auteurs making stuff and getting into AI helping them drive stuff.
Then I hope
Kay,
Sony.
I agree with that.
What?
Kay says Twisted Metal was way better than it had any reason being. I can't wait for season two.
I like Twisted Metal. It wasn't great. I was telling Barrett, friend of the show, that I liked it. It wasn't. It's not Last of Us, and nor does everything need to be as good as Last of Us. But I liked it. It was cool. I enjoyed watching it. Stephanie Beatrix was really good in it,
Did
as
you
their
get
version of
that
Quiet.
video to Barrett?
I did. I sent him one of mine and then sent him the other one. I don't know if he used the interview
Cool.
with the intern Bill,
Okay.
but I hadn't heard from him because I know he's been busy. So I figured if he didn't get it, he would have said something.
Okay.
Um, but no, I just, when I hear statements like that and I see the AI stuff, I want you to suffer even more, because to me, you're not making good business decisions. Because when you make a statement that says we didn't develop, or we did not do a good job of developing IP, that's on you. You own the IP. You have this in house. I loved Killzone. I was one of the people who was believed that stupid trailer that,
For Killzone 2? Yeah. For
and
at
here's the thing.
what was that for the PS3?
PS3.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I still love Killzone. Even
Mhm.
after that, even the lie of that trailer, I still love the universe. And I still want. I think Killzone 3's like that intro. Like, I don't know if you've ever watched that intro with Brian, your boy from Succession. Um who's the dad in Succession? Uh
Something Cox. Is it Brian Cox?
Brian Cox, yes. Brian Cox. He's the voice of Vasari in that game. He's like the head Kilgon,
Okay.
Helgon in that game, and he does this amazing. I want everybody to go look at it. He's freaking amazing. He's the voice of. I love that universe. Why have you done nothing with this? Why you only have a 10-year window with Call of Duty, and Microsoft, if they're smart, because I would do it, and I'm not even that devious of a business person, I would pull that license on you, or I would charge you double after 10 years. I would. You know why? Because I fucking can. So
Yeah.
if you don't want that to happen to you, then you need to start developing your own IP. And you have three major IPs that you could get people to play: Killzone, Resistance, or bring back SOCOM. You want a live service game? Bring back SOCOM.
Here's the
Get
issue
off.
with that though. I don't know. That one's tricky because I feel like people do like SOCOM, but at the same time, we just said the appetite for live service games seems to be dying.
The appetite is not there for this BS of every game being live service. But we just talked about a game that just killed it in that list. They talked about Helldivers 2.
Hmm.
Helldivers 2 is one of the best selling games this year. It is one of the most enjoyable games this year. And you know why? Because they released it on Steam at the same time as they released it on PlayStation. And it's doing well.
Hmm.
It's already a known IP, and it's a good game. So I say that to say, Sony, this is on you. You can't blame anybody else for your mistakes. And Microsoft, I'm going to throw another freaking dagger at you, because as Sony's making these mistakes, you should be capitalizing on this. And Brian Brink makes up
Brian,
a good. Fortnite is
Fortnite
not
says it's
going
not
anywhere.
dying. Yeah, I
Nope.
think Fortnite is the exception to everything else. Fortnite is fine, but I think nobody else is really able to capitalize as well as Fortnite.
But that's their problem, because here's the thing: Overwatch was killing the game, and Overwatch killed itself. Overwatch did that to themselves. Apex Legends is still going okay. PUBG is still going on. You've got Valorant going on. Um, Deadlocked over there from Valve is one of those games where let's see where that goes. Helldivers 2, and I say it, Pal World, Pokemon, Animal Crossing with guns.
Hmm.
How's anybody complaining about that? Nope, people bought it. And you know why they bought it? Because it wasn't $70 and it didn't take 10 years to make.
Wait, do we know it didn't take 10 years to make?
The guy who made it said that it didn't take 10 years to make.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be. I feel like a lot of times these people, these executives get up there and they say this, oh, woe is me, and they do these interviews, and no one actually is knowledgeable about the what these people are saying to push back and say, excuse me, you own the license to these properties.
Hmm.
That's on you. And to get back to the PS5, and I'll throw it back to you. You talked about we have not seen anything from Ben Studios, Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch. You just put out a huge console refresh, and you did not have one next gen game to pair with it. Every game that you advertise is a game that's already out.
Yeah, it's very weird to show all these games like because you could almost make the argument if you show me a brand new game that I hadn't seen before and showed it on the PS5 Pro and don't show it on the PS5, I have nothing to compare it to because I'd be like, oh, this does look great. And I wouldn't know that it probably runs just that it runs a little bit worse, but still fine on the PS5. So I
Mhm.
mean, you could have played that game like show me some stuff that's in development on PS5 Pro, and to
Yes,
be like, this is great. I mean,
yes.
if you're really going to try to sell people, you got to learn to play smoke and mirrors with your systems. A couple things. I think we've already established Sony doesn't care. They do what they want because they have no competitor. And
Sony's the hot person that you do everything you can to jump through hoops to date this person who knows that they're hot, whether it's a guy or a girl. They know they're hot, and they feel like I don't have to change because you are lucky to be with me.
yeah,
That's Sony.
yeah. And we've talked about this before. We are in the land of diminishing returns. Like the jumps in quality of gaming isn't as fast as they were from like PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 or 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Like those jumps get incrementally smaller because there's only so much you can do to make something look as realistic
Yes,
as possible.
yes.
So it's kind of like stuff. I mean, stuff really looks good on PlayStation 5 now. My PlayStation 5 doesn't sound loud with games yet. It doesn't
The
sound like there are any
PS4
games
looked
that
like a
I'm
rocket
playing.
engine. It does
Yeah,
sound like a
I
rocket
mean, it
engine
doesn't
after a
sound
while.
like I don't have any physical proof that I need to get a PS5 Pro because my PS5 base is still running stuff just fine.
And
So
here's the
it's
thing:
yeah,
you brought it up. There's nothing graphically that your PS5 hasn't been able to pull off that you haven't been satisfied with. And here's another thing too. And here's what I think. And I thought about this, but I want you to finish your thought because I'm going to go into what I think they're doing. Because I'm going to go into we've trashed Sony. Hopefully, whoever's watching this from Sony will realize that we're right, you're wrong. Continue.
yeah.
But I'm
Hire
going to
us. We'll we'll
yes,
we'll, we'll
we'll
fix your
fix
marketing
it.
strategy.
Yeah, but
Yeah, just I think they haven't shown us anything a real reason to get it. It does kind of seem like they honestly people are upset about this, but don't be surprised if you're not paying $800 for the PS6. Like don't be surprised if you're not going to pay that, and also don't be surprised if you're not getting the disk drive. A lot of the stuff that people hate, they're introducing it now, so that way when it comes on the six, they'll be like, "Well, you've already seen this happening." So a lot of stuff
so
that people aren't excited about, you're probably going to see in the PS6. I think.
here's the thing, and here's what I here's where I, you were going in the direction I was about to hit. So let's think for a moment what's going on. So if you're going to buy this PS5 Pro, it's going to cost you 700. No disk drive, so that means all your games are digital. Or unless you buy the $80 disk drive. If you were to trade in right now at GameStop, as of 9/14, the generator offer, if you trade in a PS5 console, store credit is 325. Cash is
That's
227.
that's crazy.
Yes. Here's the thing. somebody posted online that they had already traded in their PS5 and they got up to $410 for
Mm,
everything.
mm,
Now, I don't know what else he traded in. I know that the person who traded in the trading value, now that was earlier this week. But right now, I am on GameStop, and the pro value for store credit is only 357, cash up to 250. Pro value, regular value. Sorry, the pro value if you are a pro customer. I,
mm-hmm.
so that's what you get. I went to Best Buy and tried to trade in a PS5 console, Final Fantasy 17 bundle. Would you like to take a stab at your estimated
Wait,
value?
Final Fantasy 17?
Whatever the last one was.
16. Okay, got it.
16. Okay, 16. And this is good condition,
Uh-huh.
AC adapter included, game controller included. We want to guess,
So you traded, you
traded
simulated
into.
a game, the
Mhm.
game and the system, everything.
This is the
I'm gonna
bundle.
say and this is you trading it in, right? Not buying it.
Trading in the bundle. And I'm going to put it in.
I'm gonna say it's 380.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I'll go with 380. Why not?
Click on what I just put in the chat.
I was like,
See
man,
if
you
it
could
comes up.
just
Nope.
you could have
Because I
just
want to see
told me.
your. I just want to see your face when you click on it.
Honestly, I can't get to it because when I click it on the side, it would just display it, and then when I try to click it up here, I can't. You would have to put it in the private channel for me to click on it.
Uh, Give me a second.
K says 150 is what they guessed. Okay, here we go. I can do that. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's weird. So you got to give me the specs again. You said you did what? Good,
Yep.
good
Put everything good.
included. Does the game console? Does
Yep.
yes? Okay, got it. Oh my God. Oh, how dare you?
Kay,
Best
you were
Buy.
playing by Price's Right rules. Kay, you are the winner. You are the closest without going over. It was
Yeah,
160.
it was
160
160.
for a PS5 with a controller, with the AC cord, in good condition. You get
That's
160. Yes, trading value.
uh, that's rough.
So IGN does a very good breakdown of too little for yes, Kate. According to Price is Right rules, you win
Yeah,
based on what you have right now. This is untenable. The gaming community, this is untenable. If Microsoft does not get off its ass and start challenging Sony, this is the future for us.
sure.
And I think you hit the nail on the head without even realizing it years ago when you said this. And I will always give you credit, going to my grave with saying this. So you were right that Microsoft saw the future, that gaming is not going to be tied to a console and Game Pass is the future. Because I believe that you're right, because I was thinking about this. Sony is saying, if we're going to still make consoles, you're going to fucking pay for them.
Hmm.
We're no longer going to make consoles at a reduced cost to sell and then get the money on the back end from the games because the games are going up, the consoles are going up.
Yeah,
And if you're going to, if you want a console, you're going to pay for it. And
yeah,
you're not only going to pay for it, you and I are no longer the target demo. We have aged out of being the target demo for a console. And I say that because we still buy physical. We do buy digital. Which PlayStation did you buy?
I bought the physical one with the disc drive.
Which Xbox did you buy?
I bought the Series X that had the disc drive.
That's why.
Yeah,
We are no longer the target demo because the next generation of gamers does not care about the physical. They're
sure.
willing to not have physical copies. And you're right. Xbox and Microsoft are testing the waters to see, or I'm sorry,
Sony.
Microsoft, Xbox, and Sony are testing the waters to see, are you going to pay $700 for this? Because here's another thing too. When they released the PS4 Pro, there was a price cut to the PS4. It was a
Yeah, we have not
$50
seen a
price cut.
price cut for consoles,
You've
really.
seen it go up. In the last
Yeah,
year, those consoles go up.
yeah.
So I say that to say the gaming future is the model that Steam has pursued, the model that Epic has pursued, the model that Microsoft has pursued with Xbox. We'll make a handheld, we'll make a peripheral, we'll make something. It may not be the best specs, but it'll be good enough to play X amount of games.
I'm really curious to see what the Switch successor is and how much it costs and what it does.
If I'm
Like I know
Nintendo,
for a fact it's not going to be $700 because they just
no,
they don't play in that market. They don't try to be
no.
super expensive. But I'm wondering how powerful it'll be.
As
I'm
powerful as a
curious.
PS4.
Interesting.
I think it will be powerful as a PS4, maybe, maybe a PS4 Pro. I don't think it's going I don't see them. And if I'm Nintendo, I'm rejoicing right now because Sony just shot themselves in the face like Dick Cheney on a hunting trip. And
He
if
didn't
you're
shoot
old,
himself in the face.
well, he shot somebody in the
He
face.
shot somebody in the face. Yeah.
So I I honestly believe that you are right in predicting that Game Pass is the future. And I think Sony has figured that out too. Only difference is that they're going backwards.
Sure.
They're not putting out the actual plan to get their games on different systems. They're saying, okay, we know that we got to make these games. We have first party titles coming out next year. However, comma, we're still going to make you pay for this stuff on the front end and we'll give you the stuff on the back end. And I think that's what's going on right now. They're testing the waters appropriately, like you said, to see what is the temperament for a $700 console. What is the temperament for an $80 controller? What's the temperament for a $70 game? They realize, oh, they're not willing to pay $40 for a bullshit live service game that nobody knows about.
Yeah. And I wonder, like, I'll stick with what I said about I could see the next PlayStation being $800 or 700, 750 something. I could see that them trying it out after this point. Um, but I do wonder if what was I going to say? Oh man, I lost my thought about Dick Cheney shot here and then 70 at tell Texas
Yep.
attorney. Keep dropping all the historical knowledge. I love it. I wonder if Microsoft is going to because Microsoft doesn't have any plans on doing a pro version of their console, like whatever. I think they're talking about doing a redesign of the current console, but they don't
Yeah.
plan on doing a pro model, um, because I think technically the Xbox Series X was maybe a little more powerful than the PS5 Pro. I think when they released at the same time, I think that's what the consensus was.
No,
People,
I think PS5 Pro is the
sorry, not PS5 Pro. The PS5 base
yes,
was
yes, it
not as
was.
powerful as Xbox
No.
Series X.
The
Right.
Xbox Series X was the most powerful console on the market.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't think they plan on trying to match with that. Um, I'm curious what this does long term in terms of game development cycles and just that whole thing because we talked about it before and recorded pre-recorded press plays of just the game development cycle that we currently have now is
Is untenable.
it's untenable. They're spending so much, they're not getting their money back. So I don't know what the solution is. This doesn't seem to be the solution. And oh, now I remember what I was going. As much as this sucks, I don't think that Sony is trying to sell as many PS5 Pros as they did PS5 base models. I don't think. I think they realize this is a certain clientele that wants the best and brightest,
Mhm.
and they'll get it. I almost feel like they're going to the phone plan model where, yeah, we'll do a console refresh every few years or so, and we
Mhm.
don't have to sell all of it because we've already got the install base, we've already got the architecture out there. So hopefully, it's not costing us as much to sell a slightly refreshed version.
So I think you're right about that. I think. We have been Apple and Samsung are on that route, where, and I compared Apple, and I'm not the first person to say this. I've thought this before, but IGN is a better company. But anyway, they've said this before, and they're when Apple used to release a phone, it used to be camp outside, people lined up around the street. It was huge. When they would release a new phone, when they would release a new laptop, it was huge. But now they release something every year. And people then take whatever it is that they have and they trade it in and they get that thing. Well, now there's no reason for that. You could Your iPhone 15 versus your iPhone 15 Max or Pro is the 16 is only incrementally better than this year's model. You do have a customer base who is diligent enough and on top of it enough to say, I want the latest, best, brightest thing. Okay. That's where we are with this. The only difference is with gaming, you are now pricing people out of gaming. And that's what I wonder if they have thought about this, because when you and I were younger, everybody had a Nintendo, a Sega Genesis, and then Sony entered in with the PlayStation. You had one of these consoles. A lot of people had two because they were cheap enough to own more than one console. Now, I don't know if it's feasible to have all three consoles. I don't think it is. And I am a person who loves all three consoles. I will buy a Switch for my wife. She borrowed one of our friends a Switch. She really likes it. I was going to buy one, and then Nintendo was like, yeah, we're going to release a Switch too. But I'll get that for her. I am. I'm going to play it as well, but it's not, as she really enjoyed it. And it really helped her mentally to play some of those games. So I am going to get that. But I'm not buying this PS5 Pro. One, it doesn't have a disk drive. And two, that's $700. It's $700. And I'm thinking of it as a consumer, but I'm also thinking of it as a person who has four people in the house, and I don't even own a dog anymore. I'm looking at, in this day and age, inflation, groceries, you're pricing people out of gaming. And I do believe now we have a system in place that is going to reward the people who are going to shell that money out. But until they cut the cord on the PS4, there's no reason to buy this PS5, because a lot of these games are on PS4. The Last of Us 1 and 2 are on the PS4. So, Returnal, Bloodborne, hold on. Returnal might only be on PS5. Yeah. A lot of these games, Callisto Protocol, I liked it. It still hurts. PS4. Jedi Survivor, coming to PS4. Hogwarts Legacy, PS4. Cyberpunk, PS4. So
Yeah.
you don't have to have the best console to play everything. I do understand the PC people having a field day right now. I understand that because they're rejoicing, because they're like, you're getting price gouge is not the correct term. I don't want to say price gouge, but for the amount of money that you put into a PC and the other things that you can do with it, I can see why that's appealing. But the reason why consoles were appealing is because you could get PC quality gaming by just buying a box and not having to retool that box every few years with a new component.
Right.
Sony is having a field day right now because they're able to sell you a $700 box with the idea of, and here's the thing, this is another thing that people are not paying attention to that I have not heard. I would pay $700 for a PS4 Pro that had a disk drive in it if it played every PlayStation game made. I don't understand that. If you made a, I would pay $700 for that. I would pay $700 if I could pull out a PS4, PS3 game, a PS2, and a PS1 game, and I could slide it into that disk drive, and it played. It booted up and it played. I'd pay $700 for that, and that's not what they did.
Yeah. Also, I don't think they could sell that for $700. I think it would be more expensive if you wanted that.
That's, and I say that to say I don't know what their thinking is, because if you're not going to give me that, at least tell me why I'm paying $700 to play the list of games that are next gen that are coming out. You've given me no reason to buy this, which means I'm not your target demo. You don't care about me as a consumer. You're after something else. You're
Hmm.
after someone else. And to me, that consumer is people who haven't made that jump from PS4 to PS5. Because there's a lot of them out there. You're after them, and you're after the people you talked about who upgrade their phones incrementally. Every generation, there's a new one out. So I'll
Hmm.
buy this one. You're after those people. You're after those two groups of people. And there probably another group out there too, the people who have to have the best, the top of the line, who have the disposable income to trade that in. But that's who you're after. You're not after me and you. You're not after K. That's the future of gaming right now. And I bring it all back to that conversation I had that I told you about. Without a competent Xbox, without a competent Microsoft in the gaming community pushing Sony, Sony is still going to rail us with this bullshit thought process because there's nobody there to challenge them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's how I feel about this right now.
No, yeah, I agree. Uh, yeah. I mean, there's nothing more to say. I mean, we've been going an hour 10. I feel like we said all we can say for now.
Yeah, I mean, there's other things we probably could have said that but I wrote down what I could. I just, I did want to get out there that if you're going to trade in your PlayStation, GameStop, and again, this is, remember we talked about GameStop before, and people are like, GameStop is crap. This is why GameStop needs to exist, because it makes it easier for you to get that next console. Um, I, I will still champion GameStop and use video games and pre-owned video games for this very reason. But we're starting to see video game companies saying we're going to cut those people out of the deal. They're
Hmm.
going to do their best, because if they can wall off that garden and make it so that you can only buy video games from us and digitally, they can control the price of those video games. And Sony's already being sued for that. Keep in mind, Sony is already being sued for overinflating the amount of money you pay for video games because they've caught them doing that. So to me, I know a lot of people are not ringing the alarm of this is a very bad thing. And I bring it back to Microsoft and challenge them to get better, because as a Sony person, I need Microsoft to fucking push Sony to do better. Because you're right, that PS6 is probably going to be $800 in digitally only.
Hmm.
Digital only, and that disk drive is going to be $100.
Yeah,
And
I can
will
see that.
that system be the system that is digital only? Will
Mm,
they make that leap on the PS6?
could be.
And that's why I said this is scary to me. This really is. This is really scary in the sense of gaming could fundamentally change forever. And there are some good things. It's a good thing because we could see Sony putting their games out there quicker on multiple systems. Um, I don't know, man. I was trying to come into this positive, but as we've gone on, I've gotten more pessimistic as we talk about this, because I see this not being a good thing for gamers. Uh, so let's end this on a good note.
Hmm.
Uh, Not on this bullshit, but what's gotten you through the week? The debate
Some
was
fall TV is coming back, and that's been fantastic because saw the first two episodes of season two of The Old Man. Man, that show
yep.
is so good.
I told you.
Everybody on that show is awesome.
I told you that show was amazing.
Was Alia Shakwat? Is that her name?
Yeah.
I've liked her in a bunch of different stuff, but she is shining here, just in this especially in this season, getting to do some stuff. I really liked her in
Remember, the first time people saw her was Arrested Development.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I liked her in Arrested Development. I liked her in her little role she had on Veronica Mars, and there
Remember,
was
she
a
was also in
comedy show that she
Search
was on,
Party.
Search Party. Yeah, Search Party.
Hmm.
But I like her in this a lot. That's a good show that I'm really watching. Um, Finally catching up on Welcome to Wrexham season three. Enjoying that. I am playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, the most recent Yakuza game, which has been fantastic. It came out in June and January, but I'm finally playing it, loving that. I finally got to the part where I am essentially playing Animal Crossing slash Pokemon in it, and it's fantastic.
Hmm.
Um, Still watching wrestling again. SmackDown was good this past episode. Anything else I've been watching and doing? That's about it.
Hmm.
I finished
Uh,
Sunny on Apple Plus. Okay. What is Sunny? Okay,
that's
what is that?
is that old girl? I know her name. Oh wait, is that on? Is that on sale? Ooh,
Oh, you brought up Apple Plus. Slow Horses is back. Season four of Slow Horses.
hmm,
That's a good show. If you want a
it
slow
is.
burn of a spy show, Slow Horses is fantastic.
So Chaos, I have not heard good things about. Kay, um, I'm still trying to finish uh, Terminator. I need to get back into Shogun. Um, uh, what else has I been watching? I've been introducing the Justice League to my boys.
Uh huh.
So Evan recognizes that's Batman, that's Superman. Um, uh, we watched Across the Spider Verse today, and when I tell you that caught his attention, and
Sure.
I always rank how good a movie is by how many disparate people it can his attention it could catch. So like if you've got a movie that can interest me, my father-in-law, and my child, that's a good thing. The first frame of Across the Spider Verse started playing, and at 4 years old, he was like, "What's that?" There were moments in that movie where he was just like mind blown.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've been trying to watch Terminator Zero. I was watching the subtitles, and then I forgot that it has an all-star like voice cast, American voice cast. So like I'm gonna watch a few episodes without the and see how good it is. Um, Today is my birthday, so I did buy a Kickstarter. Uh, I did buy one Kickstarter for me, um, and you're right. The old man is good. I would like to point out I was right. I told you that show was going to be good, and you had doubts. You hesitated, and just like you talked me into watching Slow Horses, I'm glad I talked you into watching The Old Man.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm trying to think of what else. Football is back. Colorado is playing right now at Colorado State.
Football is back. USC does what USC does, and they just f it up in the second half.
In South Carolina's defense, and you know this is bad when I have to say in South Carolina's defense, they were never winning that game.
You know what? Then, if that's the case, LSU needs to do a better job of blowing it out of the water. Then,
And the
'cause they
reason why I
only
say
lost for
that,
like 3 points.
yeah, and I say that in saying South Carolina always finds a way to f up, but they were not winning that game because they have not figured out how to not do that.
Fair enough.
because LSU should have beat them down. LSU should never have been in that position. If LSU believes that they are on par with the Alabamas, the Texases, the Auburns, and the Georgias, they should not have let they should not have been that close with South Carolina. South Carolina should not have won that game. They did not win that game because South Carolina does not do the things that it needs to do to put them in that upper echelon. Now, I don't know if Shane Beamer's the coach to do it. It's not for me to say. I'm
Yeah,
not a
he's good
fan.
as anybody else.
I'm not part of their fan base. That's just me. Right now, as a Clemson fan, we got our own problems. Um,
Yeah, you too.
we've got our own problems. We've got a coach that does not believe in the portal. We have a coach that says dumb things every week. We have a
Yeah.
coach that does not
It
have
was
this.
okay when y'all were winning.
Here's the thing: to those of us who are paying attention, it was not okay then. Because I don't know if you remember, he was one of the people who did not like NIL. And we were like, so you just want to make millions and these kids don't? Those of us who knew that this was coming. We just were hoping it wasn't coming. The fall off wasn't this quick.
Mm,
However, comma, I will say this: we're not Florida State
fair enough.
because they have lost three in a row. It's
Uh, y-
bad.
Banks 757. Yeah. So just for everybody who is in the chat, we're about to sign off now. But normally, when we do live, we try to start around 9:30 ish. So that just gives you a heads up on kind of when to check our channel to see if we're going live or not. But usually, we try to start around 9:30 Saturday nights,
So
9:30
how about
Eastern
this?
time.
Let's commit to always trying to have something up. Hold on. And I say this: let's commit to always have something up at 9:30, whether it's a review, whether it's a press play. We'll tape stuff. We're going to get in the habit of taping stuff and have something up at 9:30. So that way we can commit to 9:30 for right now of just having something. I believe in us.
All right.
So if you watch First Things First, it's one of my favorite sports shows. Uh, Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, and Kevin Wildes. I love the show. It's a great show. Check them out on Fox Sports One. On Fox Sports, the radio's Fox Sports One. Anyway, Chris Broussard, who is a worked at ESPN, New York Times, consummate journalist, he has something called the Bud List, and he basically talks about people hey, you're on the hot seat or you're under duress. You This is what you need to do to improve. And at the end of every single one of them, because he's chastising people, but he's telling them you can be better. You know what he says at the end of it? Every single one, no matter how bad the player is or what they need to do, he says, I believe in you. It's the most inspirational because again, we talk sports and it's very adversarial, it's very competitive. But Chris Broussard comes in and he says, I believe in you. Now that's not saying that they're going to do what's need to be done because James Harden has been on the Bud list for I don't know how many years. James Harden does James Harden things, but Chris Broussard every time says, "I believe in you," and I believe. Like Chris Broussard says, "I believe in us." I believe that we're going to commit and we're going to have something up every week at 9:30 on Saturdays. Now, whether you watch it or not, that's up to y'all because I know football season's here, so that's a lot. It's heavy. Yeah, they're not going to do the odd couple anymore. Thanks, Zaylin Maru. I'm so glad you brought it up. So he's still going to do first things first, just not going to do the odd couple anymore. But yeah, I believe in us.
Well, I believe in ending the stream because we've been going way longer than we needed to.
No, no,
Folks,
no,
we'll be
no.
back.
We've been going as long as we need to go.
All right, folks. That's it. We out. Bye.